What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, USC did go on the road to Boulder and did defeat Colorado there at their home place, and it looked like it was going great. At one time they were leading 41-14 USC, but then all of a sudden in the second half the defense kind of lets up and makes it end up being only a 7-point win. They ended up getting that 48-41. So it was a little bit of a very high and a very low once the game ended. And all you gotta say is that yes, the defense is definitely the problem, you can say, but even when it comes to the offense, maybe it's a problem too, because they probably only scored twice after halftime. So you gotta wonder why they're always continuing to pass and do all this stuff instead of running the ball to kill clock. But even during that game when they were trying to run the ball, it felt like Colorado was stopping them, which they usually had not been doing, and USC's defense gave up a bunch of rushing yards, like almost 300 yards, and Colorado's only averaged like 50 yards per game. So yeah, they did that and gave up like almost 400 yards passing as well. But yeah, Caleb Williams was pretty much the player of the game. Ended up being named the Pac-12 Player of the Week. Had like over 400 passing yards and 6 touchdowns total. Yeah, it's great, but it just seemed like because they were in the main spotlight at that 9 o'clock window on Saturday, at least 9 o'clock here on the West Coast, 12 o'clock, I guess, East Coast. And then kind of just wanted to show everybody why he's a Heisman player and giving him so many passing opportunities, which is cool. He converted on a lot, but he also stunk up quite a bit because he did get his first interception by forcing the ball in this game as well this season. So obviously, it wasn't all great for Caleb. There were some times when he did get sacked. It was most likely bad stuff on the offensive line because there were a couple of key guys out. Like, well, Justin Dedich was playing, but he probably should not have been playing because I guess he had a bug prior, like a couple days prior, and was still throwing up and all this stuff the day before and trying to get rid of it. And maybe you could have gone with somebody else down there, but I don't know. Even some of the passes back like were a bit high or something like that, so probably would have been better to put somebody else. But even their top wide receiver, or one of their top wide receivers and freshman Zachariah Branch, was out of this game, so it definitely didn't help you in the return game and all that stuff, because every time they tried to return it, they never really got anything. Even though Michael Jackson III and other people tried their hardest, they just, for some reason, the blocking just wasn't there either, and they weren't able to get in positive range to start their series. But yeah, either way, you got the victory, but it just doesn't feel right because you felt like you should have lost, especially how that game was going, because it came down to a onside kick that Colorado tried to get back because they were only down by 7 at that point, and of course they don't get it, and USC just runs out the clock. But yeah, there was like another missed field goal at some point, but still at that time it felt like Colorado was still going to be only down by 1 score anyways. But yeah, other than that, just a bad defense and everything else, especially that run game, didn't really bode well for them. Even in USC in the AP poll dropped down 9 points. They're one of the first teams that I've seen that actually dropped down in the rankings of the AP poll, even though they're still winning. Yeah, they're not good wins. A lot of teams don't have great wins, but I guess it's consistently them winning badly, so that's why they're being punished in this poll, which is what everybody follows as of right now. But even like in the coaches poll, they're still number 7. So it's like the coaches still kind of believe in what they're seeing, but other than that, everybody else is kind of, not buying what Lincoln Riley is putting out there. Not only on offense, but especially the defense by Alex Grinch. And it's tough because you can get rid of Alex Grinch today and, one of the assistant coaches steps up. He's most likely not going to be the main defensive coordinator next season, but then you're going to bring in someone else. And if that person that you bring in isn't what other, like all these high school recruits or even transfer portal guys are expecting, then you're most likely not going to get good players here and there, so it could be a big domino effect in the end. Hoping that does not happen, but yeah, either way, we move on to spit some more positive news. So LeBron James recently said at a Lakers media day that Bronny James, his son at USC, does plan on playing for the team. I guess he's working it here and there, trying to get his body correct and make sure he's not going to push himself, which is what I assumed the other video I made recently. I sort of thought he was kind of already coming back, but it also felt like he could end up missing the whole entire year as well. But as long as he doesn't rush it and everything like that, I think we should be good. And according to Andy Katz, one of the top reporters out there for college basketball, he said that Boogie Ellis is his number 5 returning best shooter in the country, which is pretty good because Ellis can get hot here and there and score bunches of points, score like 25 to 30 plus points in a college game. So I understand why. A lot of good shooters out there. So at least to him be on this list is pretty good for him. And a 2024 4-star point guard in Trent Perry recently cut down his list to 6 teams, and USC did make the cut. So hoping that this guy does end up choosing them. According to a lot of the other schools, it seems like their main competition is Gonzaga. Maybe he's going to say, I'll wait to commit until they both play in December in Vegas and see whoever's the winner there and make that decision. But who knows if he'll decide soon or not. So we'll have to wait and see. And a couple of high school players that are committed to USC's team next season doing really well. I mean, Xavier Jordan, the local California wide receiver, he's basically averaging a touchdown on every 3 catches, which is pretty insane. So he obviously has a bunch of long touchdown plays and all this stuff. So that's pretty insane stats. So of course, a really great, talented receiver on offense is coming to USC to play with Lincoln Riley, but also one of the top running backs that they have committed. I think his name is Brian Jackson in Texas. He's recently coming back from an injury, but he did end up scoring 3 touchdowns in that return game. So obviously a lot of good talent still out there on offense. Hopefully USC can get some of these defenders out there that they're trying to pursue as well. Yes, Duke basketball recently named their team captains. Ryan Young, Tyrese Proctor, and of course Jeremy Roach, the senior, were all named captains. And even Ryan Young's a super senior too. He's an extra year because of COVID. So to have 2 seniors and one of your better sophomores to be captain, that's pretty cool. So definitely looking forward to the type of leadership those guys bring to the team this season coming up. And yes, Cooper Flagg, the number 1 player in 2025, I believe it is, but he could come in 2024 class, whatever that is. How would that set up? I forget. But yes, he recently had a trip to Kansas planned for an official visit, but apparently he has canceled that trip. So it looks like it's going to be Duke versus UConn trying to get this player on their roster. And obviously, you already know, I hope it's Duke because he is considered the number 1 player in his class. And even if he jumps a year ahead, I think he's still considered the number 1 player in that class. So that's pretty good, especially with a Boozer player who's the next Duke player's son is considered the number 1 player in that class. But maybe to get both of them, that'd be pretty nice. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And then yes, sadly, Duke football did play against Notre Dame this Saturday in prime time and ended up losing late in the final minute of that game. Final score was 21-14 Notre Dame. Duke did have that 1-point lead for about a quarter or something, but yeah, they gave up a pretty bad touchdown. Nobody was tackling and, really wrapped up that running back, and he ran in like 20 plus yards, which sucked, and they gave up that 2-point conversion. And then on the very final play for Duke on offense, Riley Leonard, their star quarterback, did get hurt, but it looked like an ankle injury because when the defender brought him down, that ankle kind of went underneath both of them. So it does suck to see because it did take him a while to finally come out of the injury tent out there on the field, and he was on crutches already. So hopefully it's nothing too bad. Haven't really heard anything too crazy as far as with that injury, but hoping that it's nothing too, that'll bring him out for a couple games this season. Maybe a game or 2, but he's going to miss the rest of the season. Then Duke's chances are probably pretty shot, which kind of sucks, but that's just the way it goes. And Lakers Media Day, as I mentioned earlier, did happen the other day, getting all their photos and doing interviews and stuff. And yeah, I totally forgot in some of the photos that LeBron did switch back to 23. And I want to say he was wearing 23 when they did win in 2020 in the bubble. So hopefully that will help them bring back the 18th championship. But not only him, because there's a lot of great players on this team that will be able to help out throughout the season and into the playoffs. So hopefully everybody will stay healthy throughout then and headed into the playoffs, because I think the Lakers can be a dangerous team once they are there. And then when it comes to other Lakers stuff, yeah, that big trade happened. There's Drew Holiday. I was kind of mentioning in the last video that the Lakers could try to pursue him, but of course, a day or two later, he gets traded to their rivals in the Celtics, and of course that sucked for a second until I heard who Portland was getting in return, which was one of those players. I mean, yeah, Malcolm Brogdon is okay, but I don't think the Lakers would really want to mess with his contract. But Robert Williams was traded from the Celtics to Portland, and he's a big intrigue of mine because he's more of a defensive-minded player at first. Defense, rebounding, which is a great player, like power forward / center to put next to Anthony Davis. And yes, he does catch lobs and kind of help you on offense, but he's definitely in there more for the defensive purposes. And hopefully, at some point he doesn't get traded right away, because teams like, Dallas could use him as well, or maybe even Phoenix. I don't even know if they have enough capital to be able to trade again, but either way, yeah, if this guy could get on the Lakers somehow before the trade deadline in a couple months, then yeah, this will definitely be a dangerous team heading into the playoffs. So definitely hoping that that's come to fruition. And yes, the Chargers did get the victory against the Raiders 24-17. At one point it was 24-7, but of course the Chargers have the charger, and yes, they let this game come down to the end where they're playing defense basically to end this game, like in Minnesota, because they went for it on a 4th down, didn't get it, and gave, the Raiders a short field. I guess Staley was only confident in his team because the Raiders were playing a rookie quarterback who pretty much had gotten sacked so much. Even Khalil Mack for the Chargers had 6 sacks himself in that game. But yeah, either way, they still got this victory somehow with a late interception by Asante Samuel Jr., and they still had to run out the clock, and were still able to, officially get the victory. But yeah, overall, I guess you could say it was okay, but not really, because I did see a stat too about Quentin Johnston that he's either the last or second to last when it comes to receivers drafted in the first round this last draft, that have only averaged he's only gone 44 yards, something like that, and that's one of the lowest for a first round player at a wide receiver position in a long time. So yeah, Addison, I always think about him now because he's been doing really well for Minnesota, except this very last game. Of course, in my fantasy team, he sucked and didn't do anything. But prior to that, he was averaging almost a touchdown a game, almost close to definitely over 50 yards per game as well. But yeah, I guess you can't go back and change history now, but there is something, I guess, wrong with Johnston because he had more time to play, and there's some of those catches that he just dropped or wasn't, really focusing on the ball either. So it's kind of weird why they ended up selecting him if he wasn't really a finished product, especially in the first round. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But Justin Herbert did get hurt trying to make a play on I think he threw an interception or something that happened. And yeah, there's something wrong with his finger. He got it wrapped up pretty tightly and fully during the game towards the end. And I guess he has a dislocated finger or some type of injury to a finger. I don't know exactly what it was because they haven't really officially said much. But either way, it's on his non-throwing hand, so that's the better news. And he did make a pretty big play to Joshua Palmer to end that game as well. He threw it 30, 40-something yards in the air. So he still has the ability, as long as it's not that right hand. But yes, hoping that this will be not a non-issue. Luckily, they do have a bye week coming up this Sunday, so I will be able to enjoy football. Don't have to worry about watching the Chargers stink up a game eventually. Because even in those losses, a total of 5 points in those losses that they lost by. So, yes, it hasn't been fun watching these Chargers so far. But I'm the only, I guess, bright positive spot is that without Joey Bosa on defense, Derwin James Jr., Austin Eckler, their top running back. Obviously, Mike Williams was out for the season already. Alohi Gilman, another starting safety, was out. You know, there could be possibly more people that were out on that Raider game, and they still got the victory. Yes, it sucks that they still gave up 17 points to a rookie quarterback, but he kind of has something. I kind of liked watching him at Purdue the past year or two, but either way, they still shouldn't have allowed that to be that close anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day.